What's happening, everybody? Tyrone Bowman live. Global news. Welcome to the conversation. Welcome to the program on tonight. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so we're just going to go ahead and get started. I'll make an announcement later on into the program here. So I want to make sure, give me 1 second, let me get this announcement. All right, I'll be making an announcement later on as we get further into the program tonight. But to get it started here, I want to say thank you to all of our subscribers to Tyrone Bowman Live. Thank you, and you're one of the main reasons why I continuously continue to come on and make these programs, and hopefully it's helping you to be able to deal with some of life's circumstances and situations. Up first, I want to talk about what happened here, as soon as I can get this feed up. Make sure we're online. We appear to be, but let me check again before I start quoting these articles. It's a terrible shooting that occurred in, according to Boston.com, 3 people are dead, 3 are injured after a shooting at a Rhode Island high school hockey game. And the mayor calls the shooting it's a targeted family dispute. This article for Boston.com 30 was written by Molly Farah. 3 people were killed in a Rhode Island ice rink after shots were fired at a high school hockey game Monday afternoon. Pawtucket authorities said 3 people are dead, including the suspected shooter, and 3 more were injured at Lynch Arena in Pawtucket. A spokesperson for Pawtucket, Mayor Donald Grebian, said the shooting, which took place around 2:30 p.m., appeared to be a targeted family dispute. The mayor's office said the Coventry Johnson Cooperative Hockey team was scheduled to play at Lynch Arena at 2 p.m. against Blackstone Valley School, a co-op team, which was celebrating their senior night. Grebian said all of the Coventry students present are safe and accounted for. Superintendent Don Colwart said, and police remain on scene along with the students. Brandon Mello, a local sports editor, reported live from the scene shortly after the shots were fired. The shots came from behind the BVS's bench. He wrote on social media approximately at 2:41 p.m., quote, a North Smithfield father is one of the heroes of the afternoon, Mello wrote. According to multiple people in the stands, he grabbed a gun out of the shooter's hand, but the individual had a second weapon. Wow. Seems like this was an intentional shooting. Authorities have not released names of any victims or the shooter. This is a sad tragedy that has occurred, and hopefully they're going to be able to get to the bottom of this and find out exactly what's going on. According to the Hollywood Reporter, Anderson Cooper is departing 60 Minutes as a correspondent. The CNN anchor has contributed to the show for almost 20 years. And according to the Hollywood Reporter, the CNN Anderson Cooper is ending his time at 60 Minutes. The CNN anchor, who has been a correspondent at the CBS News magazine for nearly 2 decades, opted not to renew his contract with 60 Minutes, sources say. Cooper's final segment for the show, an interview with documentary filmmaker Ken Burns, it aired this past Saturday. Here's a striking photo of Anderson Cooper, CNN anchor, plus now soon will be a former correspondent for 60 Minutes. Cooper remains with CNN, where he anchors the nightly Anderson Cooper 360 and a weekly news magazine. The Whole Story. He also hosts a podcast and streaming show called All Three Is. His work for 60 Minutes came as part of an agreement between CNN, which is his full-time employer, and CBS. The media news letter breaker first reported Cooper's departure Being a correspondent at 60 Minutes has been one of the great honors of my career, Cooper said in a statement. I got to tell amazing stories and work with some of the best producers, editors, and camera crews in the business. For nearly 20 years, I've been able to balance my jobs at CNN and CBS, but I have little kids now, and I want to spend as much time with them as possible while they still want to spend time with me, quote, close quote. Cooper's departure marks the first big on-air change for 60 Minutes under the CBS News leadership of editor-in-chief Barry Weiss. The long-running program came under intense scrutiny in December when Weiss made an 11th-hour decision to pull a story focused on El Salvador's notorious C-Cot prison, where the Trump administration has sent a number of deportees. Weiss defended the decision, saying the story from correspondent Sherilyn Alfonsi was not ready, partly because it had no on-the-record response from the White House. The story needed 60 Minutes. The story rather noted that 60 Minutes made several attempts to secure a comment. The piece eventually ran on January 18. According to NPR on National Public Radio, 2 U.S. moms in their 40s rocketed to gold and bronze in Olympic bobsled showdown. American sliders Elana Myers Taylor, who is 41, and Catalina Humphreys, 40, secure gold and bronze medals. Myers Taylor built on her record as the black athlete with the most Winter Olympic medals. Wow. So this is coming right out of Italy, Cortina, Italy, in a nail-biting 4-heat race that boiled down to a contest against a pair of top German sliders. Americans Elena Myers Taylor, who was 41, and Callie Humphreys, who was 40, secured silver and bronze medals Monday night on the icy track in Cortina. Myers Taylor came from behind in the 4th and final heat, gliding and banking cleanly into the steep curves and dropping smoothly into the track straightaway to win her first gold. German Laura Nolte, who was age 27, took home the silver medal. With this win, Myers Taylor, who has 2 sons, built on her record as the black athlete with the most Olympic medals in Winter Games history, with a gold, 3 silver, and 2 bronze. Humphreys, who gave birth to her son in 2024, now has 3 Olympic gold medals and 2 bronze. So this is the pair's second Olympics in a row to find their way to the podium in the single-person monobob race, in which a single athlete pushes and then steers the bobsled down the track. Well, kudos and congratulations to both of them on winning their respective medals. Well, this is coming from the Wall Street Journal. He vowed to revive Radio Shack and Pier 1. Investors say they were swindled. Wow. Tai Lopez told his followers they could get rich investing in dying retail brands. The SEC, or Security Exchange Commission, says it was a Ponzi scheme, and the FBI is investigating. This article was written by Suzanne Kapner and Alexander Gladstone for the Wall Street Journal. Tayano Tai Lopez was living proof of the American dream was still attainable for men willing to bet on themselves. The entrepreneur hosted parties at a mansion in Beverly Hills and boasted about the black Lamborghini in his garage. The college dropout had made a name for himself on social media by offering get-rich-quick advice and self-help courses. Ladies and gentlemen, before I continue this article, beware of people who promise you how to get rich quick, and especially over social media. If something sounds too good to be true, then it's not true. If something sounds too good to be true, then it is not true. The college dropout had made a name for himself on social media by offering get-rich-quick advice and self-help courses. He urged his followers to invest in a new company he had started that was scooping up distressed retailers on the cheap: Radio Shack, Pier 1 Imports, Dress Barn, Model Sporting Goods, and linens and things, with a promise to turn them into commerce winners. Sean Murphy saw Lopez's poster on his Facebook and Instagram feeds and was drawn in by the brand names and a promise of 20% returns. He invested $175,000 in the company called Retail E-Commerce Ventures and related Lopez Ventures. All told, Lopez raised more than $230 million from hundreds of mostly small investors. Murphy, an Illinois grandfather, got a $10,000 Pier 1 gift card and monthly checks of about $1,000 for about 2 years. What he didn't know was that his payouts allegedly were funded mostly by other investors. Quote, "These guys lied," he said. "They conspired, they led people on," end quote. The payment stopped abruptly in late 2022, and the struggling retailers were taken over by some of the company's creditors. Last September, the Securities and Exchange Commission filed a civil lawsuit against Lopez and his partners, accusing them of running a Ponzi scheme, misleading investors and misappropriating $16.1 million. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, or the FBI, has been contacting investors as part of a criminal investigation into what happened. According to people familiar with the matter, no charges have been filed. Lopez and his lawyer, Marty Reddy, didn't respond to requests for comment, and the FBI and SEC declined to comment. Court filings indicate that lawyers for Lopez and the other defendants are in settlement talks with the SEC. On his podcast, The Tyle Lopez Show, and in his social media post, Lopez, who is 48 years old, hadn't addressed the company's collapse and the heavy losses incurred by his investors. The day after the SEC filed suit, Lopez posted on X, "Never doomed, no matter how horrible the situation. Don't ever think you're doomed unless you are dead. All death is psychological." Quote, close quote. Some of Lopez's investors said in interviews that they believe in the brands he was buying and his message and were assured by the monthly payments they were collecting until the checks stopped arriving. Wow. And that's just the tip of the iceberg with this particular story. Coming from the Philadelphia Inquirer, in the health section, one of the nation's oldest hospitals will now be one of Philadelphia's newest museums. This article was written by Kyla Yupp and B. Datry D. Holdry. Before 1751, sick Pennsylvanians had few healthcare options other than expensive home visits from doctors. That changed when Benjamin Franklin and physician Thomas Bond established a medical institution to treat the physically and mentally ill for free. The result was the Pennsylvania Hospital on Spruce Street. The 275-year-old institution became home to the country's first surgical amphitheater to teach students, the oldest medical library, and a nursing museum. Among other historic firsts, it continues to advance medical research as part of Penn Medicine. Now the nation's oldest chartered hospital will become Philadelphia's newest museum. The hospital's Pine Building, which started construction in 1775, will be converted to the Pennsylvania Hospital Museum, Penn announced on Monday. The museum in the majestic Georgian architectural building at 8th and Pine Streets, designed by architect Samuel Rose, is scheduled to open to the public on May 8th. It's a very Philadelphia story to hear the history of the hospital because it really is about caring for other people, said Stacy Peoples, lead archivist at Pennsylvania Hospital. The medical library, surgical amphitheater, and apothecary have all been restored for the museum. 8 galleries will feature videos, hands-on activities, and archival objects describing the history of the hospital and the care it delivered. The opening of the museum in the hospital's 275th year coincides with America's semi-quintennial celebrations. The University of Pennsylvania Health System, which merged with the hospital in October 1997, will run the museum. I think I'll be checking that out myself in Philadelphia. Okay, according to Complex magazine, Jaylen Brown refutes Beverly Hills' police reasoning for shutting down events. He says he was targeted. Brown said the shutdown led to $300,000 down the drain and felt he was targeted. So this was written for Complex Magazine by Chris Severs. Jaylen Brown is warring with Beverly Hills. Brown, who is 29, called the California city so trash after local police shut down his all-star weekend panel and claimed the event didn't have proper permitting. I'm offended. I'm offended. Had a great panel about the future of a culture with great guest people. Worked hard for this. How dare y'all? He wrote on X on Saturday, on Valentine's Day. He posted a video to Instagram showing him speaking with police officers who showed up at the house owned by Oakley founder Jim Gennard, where the event was being held. Brown, who was promoting his performance brand 741, insisted that a permit wasn't necessary for the activation, which he called a panel and not a party. Pressed on why the event was under scrutiny, the police officer in the video said it was beyond his pay grade to explain. Really? I'll bet you any amount of money, and I know I'm right, one of those nosy behind neighbors out in Beverly Hills called the police and said there are a bunch of black people over in so-and-so's mansion, and they're probably there illegally, and what are they doing in this neighborhood? You all need to investigate. I think they have guns. That's probably why the police were called. I know you all don't like it, but it's true anyhow. Anytime black people get together, you all think that there are guns and weed and marijuana and killing and murdering going on, and that's just the opposite. Because some of the other people, they got all that stuff going on in their events. And most of their events are illegal to begin with. They never have the proper permits or licenses to conduct business, but because they're of the lighter hue, they're not targeted as much as darker people are. So Jaylen Brown may have a reason to sue. The city is shutting down this for no reason. Brown said in the video the music was during the day. It's 8 o'clock. So if the music was a problem, what's the next problem? These other people are doing events too. What did I just say? Other people, meaning the white people, they all have permits. They all have permits. Do they shut their music down in LA? We're just trying to have an event, a panel talking about culture, talking about future, talking about leadership. And for whatever reason, I feel like we're being targeted. He won't say it, but I'll say it. They were targeted because they are black. Brown also tagged the city police department on X, said the shutdown cost him $300,000 right down the drain. The city of Beverly Hills shared a statement on Facebook about officers' response to Brown's event, saying event organizers had applied for a permit but were denied by the city due to previous violations associated with events at the address. It wasn't Jaylen's fault. If there were previous problems at the address, isn't the property owned by a multi-billionaire? They should have contacted the multi-billionaire and asked him why they were denied permits in the past. Why should Jaylen Brown have to bear the brunt and retaliation from the police for simply having an event? So despite the fact that the permit was denied, organizers still chose to proceed with inviting hundreds of guests, knowing that it was not allowed to occur, the city's statement said. In response, Brown doubled down on insisting the event didn't need any permit and said Beverly Hills' statement was not true, and I believe that. These PR people are always in a rush to get their PR department together and put out a flimsy statement. They do it all the time. Quote, I'm offended by Beverly Hills. First of all, look where the event was held at, in Beverly Hills, Rodeo Drive. All those expenses, creme de la creme neighborhoods. You all know what kind of people live up there in those hills. Brown goes on to say, I'm offended by Beverly Hills by the statement they put out, like we applied for something and didn't get it. And we did it anyway, and we were in support of it. Browns said after the NBA All-Star game at Intuit Doom on Sunday, I know how to follow the rules. I'm smart enough to follow the guidelines. We didn't need a permit because the owner of the house, that was his space, We were family friends. He opened up the festivities to us so we didn't have to. We never applied for one, he continued. I didn't have to pay for the house or anything. They just opened it up. I'm going to leave that right there. You all know who Jaylen Brown is. He's no stranger. You all know who he plays for. And you know the kind of work he puts in for the Boston Celtics. Come on now. Let's deal with it the way it is. Let's hit it head on. We're not going to sugarcoat over here. We're not going to play with it. There's something to miss here. That's not right. Well, this is coming from Complex Magazine. Again, Miami Dolphins has announced Tariq Hill's release amid his injury and divorce drama. Well, what's going on with this story that was written by Bernadette Gaia Camazayo? The Miami Dolphins are officially moving on from Tariq Hill, releasing the veteran wide receiver ahead of key contract guarantees tied to the 2026 league year. The move, first reported by CBS Sports insider Jonathan Jones, comes after Hill missed most of the 2025 season with a serious knee injury. Hill, who's 31, suffered the injury in September 2025, cutting short a season that saw limited production, just 21 receptions for 265 yards and 1 touchdown. His contract situation also played a role in the decision. The final year of his deal included a significant financial trigger with nearly $30 million in non-guaranteed base salary that would have partially converted to guaranteed money if he remained on the roster through mid-March. Boy, these people make a ton of money. Let me get that guaranteed money as a broadcaster and commentator and a podcaster. I know what to do with that kind of money. You invest it properly. By releasing Hill before that deadline, Miami avoids additional financial commitments, though the team will absorb a reported $28.2 million dead cap hit in 2026. The move also comes amid broader organizational changes, including a new coaching hire earlier this year. Despite the injury and roster shift, Hill has indicated he is not stepping away from football. My focus right now is just playing ball and spending time with my kids and just doing what I'm best at, providing for my family, Hill said in a recent interview. All the noise can only cloud what you really trying to get accomplished, end quote. That noise has included an ongoing and highly public divorce from his estranged wife, Katita Vaccaro. The legal battle has produced multiple allegations and court developments over the past several months. In September 2025, Vaccaro accused Hill of multiple incidents of domestic violence during their 17-month marriage, alleging at least 8 separate encounters in early 2024. Boy, these people just don't stay married long, do they? Sheesh, only been married for 18 months, and you know, bruh, she's going to take you for half of everything that you have. Among the claims were accusations of physical assault, including being shoved, having her hair pulled, and being forced out of the home. She also alleged Hill once burned her with a marijuana cigarette. Well, I guess that's enough for $50 million. Hill has denied all allegations through his attorney, who described the claims as false, in part an effort to secure a financial settlement. You and I both know it always comes down to that almighty dollar. At the end of the day, it's always about the money. Always. I'm going to leave that story right there. I'm going to pick up a couple more stories before I have to head to my radio show. Okay, according to CNBC, Hyatt Hotels chairman Jay Pritzker said he would retire in a letter to the chain's board. Pritzker, who has held the role of more than 2 decades, said he regretted maintaining contact with sex predator Jeffrey Epstein. Hyatt said its board-appointed CEO Mark Hopamazanian to secure Pritzker as chair starting immediately. This Epstein scandal just not will go away. No matter how much people try to change the conversation, no matter how much they try to change the topic, no matter how much they try to deflect, no matter how much they try to skirt around the issue, Jeffrey Epstein keeps coming up. Where there is smoke, there is fire. Say it again. Where there is smoke, there is fire. Hyatt Hotels chairman Thomas Pritzker said Monday he would retire and renounced his relationship with sex predator Jeffrey Epstein. A dude. Jeffrey Epstein is not around for you to renounce your relationship with him, wherever he is. He sure enough is not in America. Pritzker will leave his post as the hotel chain's executive chairman, a role he's held for more than 2 decades. Immediately, he said in a statement released by the Piexel organization, the 75-year-old said he would not seek re-election to the board at the annual stockholder meeting. My job and responsibility is to provide good stewardship. That is important to me, Pritzker said in the statement. Good stewardship includes securing a proper transition at Hyatt. He said he has no regret over his connection to Epstein and his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. Epstein pleaded guilty to state criminal charges related to soliciting prostitution, including one charge involving a minor in Florida in 2008. Okay, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'll make this crystal clear. Everything that Jeffrey Epstein did, they all knew about it. I said they all knew about it. It was covered up. People lied. The young woman committed suicide. You got victims that are around and nobody wants to listen to them. Nobody wants to hear from them. Don't you know that people will go at lengths to cover up their stuff? You don't believe me? Read the Bible. Read what King David did to cover up his adulterous relationship with Bathsheba. Check it out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Check it out for yourself. Okay, according to The Guardian, a Trump donor who criticized offshoring to close the Ohio plant and move work to China. According to Michael Sainato, John Paulson, a hedge fund billionaire and one of Donald Trump's earliest Wall Street backers, is planning to offshore an Ohio manufacturing plant to China despite heavy pushback from employees. These are the people that you voted for. And now they're taking your jobs and they're going to send them over to China. What is supposed to be a trade war going on with China? Didn't I tell you all these billionaires at the end of the day, they get together, they sit in the same room, they drink, they smoke, they tell filthy, dirty jokes, they blaspheme, they cuss, they swear, they drink cognac together. And then the next thing you know, the very thing that they told you that they weren't going to do, they end up doing it anyway. And who are going to suffer? The Ohioans are going to suffer. Because the billionaires said, we're going to take our manufacturing plant and we're going to take it to China. To heck with the rest of y'all. Workers at the plant called the move a slap in our faces after Paulson vocally defended domestic manufacturing and are fighting to keep the plant open. Con Selma, the largest manufacturer of brass and orchestra instruments, told the union it planned to offshore most work at its East Lake, Ohio plant to China by the end of June 2026, eliminating 150 jobs. These billionaires do not care about y'all. They never did, and they never will. United Auto Workers, Local 2359, which represents the 150 employees, said workers were informed of the closing when it first sat down to bargain over their new union contract last month. We came in with a full proposal, fully prepared to bargain, and they started off with a presentation of telling us how bad we were doing, said Robert Hines, president of UAW Local 2359, and an employee at the plant. The company told them there would be no bargaining and the plant would be closing. Workers say offshoring is an attack on the union, citing rhetoric that the plant has not been productive despite previous praises from company management. The big betrayal. The big betrayal. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to cut this short for tonight because I have a radio show I have to prepare for. But here's an announcement I want to make for those within the church sector of my channel. I'm going to put this up on my channel later on. Come one, come all. It's an open rehearsal for the Festival of Flowers Spring Gospel Concert. It's going to take place at the First Church of Love, Faith, and Deliverance, located at 3101 Ridge Avenue in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, featuring the music of the Imperial Gospel Singers, songs from the pen of Overseer Rosie Wallace Brown and Mother Anna Smallwood. So rehearsals are slated to begin Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026 at 7:30 p.m. Also, Men of Valor, open rehearsals to begin Saturday, March 7th at 5 p.m. I noticed they don't have an email on here and they don't have a phone number, but I'll get one. All right, y'all, I got to run. I got a lot of responsibilities to handle between now and 10 p.m. So until tomorrow, never surrender, never quit. All right, y'all. Peace.